If you allow your eyes to rest for a moment, the universe does not rush to fill the silence. It waits. Out there, beyond the edges of cities and schedules and thoughts, space stretches without urgency, carrying galaxies the way an ocean carries slow, patient waves. Tonight, we are not here to arrive anywhere quickly. We are here to drift, to let distance soften the sharp edges of the day, and to gently place our awareness somewhere wider than worry. Perhaps your mind has been busy for hours, replaying conversations, anticipating tomorrow, holding on to things that feel heavier at night. That is not a failure of rest. It is simply what human minds do when the world finally grows quiet. If the night feels long, if sleep feels far away, there is nothing wrong with you. You are sharing a very old experience, one that has followed our species since the first humans looked up and realized the sky was larger than their fears. Tonight, we will move slowly together into a question that does not demand an answer, only a feeling. How small is Earth, really, when placed against the true scale of the universe? Not as a calculation, not as a test of understanding, but as a perspective. One that gently loosens the grip of things that feel overwhelming when viewed too closely. This is not about shrinking your importance. It is about giving your thoughts more room to breathe. Imagine, for a moment, standing outside beneath the night sky. Even without knowing the names of the stars, even without understanding distances or physics, something subtle happens when you look up. Your shoulders may drop slightly. Your breath may slow without being told to. The sky does not solve your problems, but it quietly reminds you that they are not the entire story. Above you, the Earth itself is moving, spinning, orbiting, traveling, carrying you without effort, without asking anything in return. We often think of the ground beneath our feet as still, as solid, as fixed. Yet at this very moment, you are riding a planet that turns at more than 1,000 kilometers per hour, circling a star that drifts through a galaxy, which itself moves among countless others. You are not stationary. You are already in motion, held securely within a vast cosmic choreography that has been unfolding for billions of years. Nothing about this movement is rushed. Nothing about it is panicked. Even light, the fastest thing we know, takes its time. When we hear that Earth is small, the word can feel dismissive, as if it erases meaning. But small is not a judgment here. It is a description of scale, not of value. A single note in a long piece of music is small compared to the entire symphony, yet without it, something essential would be missing. In the same way, Earth's size does not diminish what happens here. It simply places it within a much larger, quieter context. As we begin this journey together, there is no need to visualize everything clearly. The universe was not designed for the human brain to fully contain it. You do not have to hold galaxies in your mind or picture unimaginable distances. It is enough to sense that there is more space than pressure, more time than urgency, more room than expectation. Understanding can come later, or not at all. Rest does not require comprehension. Think of this experience as slowly zooming out, not to escape your life, but to support it. When the frame widens, the tightness inside often loosens on its own. The universe does not ask you to be productive tonight. It does not need you to be impressive or certain or resolved. It simply continues, steady and vast, offering perspective without demand. In the quiet of the cosmos, the mind finds space. Space for thoughts to slow. Space for feelings to soften. Space for sleep to approach gently, without being forced. As we move forward, we will look at Earth from farther and farther away, not to make it disappear, but to see it more clearly, to understand how something so small in size can still feel so deeply like home. For now, let the idea settle that you are exactly where you need to be, on a planet that has carried life patiently through deep time, under a sky that has never hurried. The universe slows down for those who listen. And tonight, there is nothing else you need to do but listen and allow the vastness above to hold what feels heavy within. There are moments when simply lifting your gaze toward the sky is enough to change the weight of a thought, not because anything has been solved, but because something quietly shifts inside you. The ceiling of the day opens, and above it there is depth, distance, and a sense of movement that does not depend on your effort. Tonight, we begin there, with that simple, ancient gesture, looking up and realizing that the ground beneath your feet is not still. It never was. Even as you sit or lie quietly, the earth is turning. It turns without sound, without announcement, carrying oceans, continents, cities, and sleeping minds together as one. This motion is so constant, so reliable that we forget it is happening at all. Yet the floor you trust, the walls that feel solid, are all part of a vast journey through space. You are not standing on something fixed. You are traveling gently and continuously, held by gravity like a steady hand. When we imagine travel, we often think of effort, fuel, direction, and destination. But Earth's movement requires none of these from you. It does not ask for permission or attention. It simply moves, the way it has for billions of years, around its own axis, around the sun, around the center of the Milky Way. Each layer of motion nested within a larger one, like thoughts inside a dream. This realization can feel strange at first, even unsettling. And yet, for many, it brings an unexpected calm. If everything is already in motion, perhaps there is less pressure to push. The scale begins innocently enough. We learn the radius of the Earth, a number that fits neatly on a page, a fact that can be memorized and repeated. But numbers alone do not carry feeling. They remain abstract, untouched by the body. As the scale expands outward, from the Earth's surface to its atmosphere, from orbit to the moon, something subtle happens. The mind tries to follow, and then gently it lets go. Not because it has failed, but because it has reached a boundary where imagination softens into sensation. This is where scale begins to dissolve, not into confusion, but into quiet. The Earth becomes not an object to hold in the mind, but a presence to sense, a sphere suspended in darkness, wrapped in a thin veil of air, glowing faintly with reflected sunlight. From far enough away, borders disappear. Names fall silent. There are no labels for countries, no lines dividing one life from another. There is only a single, fragile world, moving through space like a thought drifting through a larger mind. Calling Earth small is often misunderstood. It sounds like dismissal, as if size alone determines worth. But this is a mistake of language, not of mathematics. Small and large are comparisons, not conclusions. A whisper is small compared to a shout, yet it can carry intimacy that a shout never could. Earth is small when compared to stars and galaxies, yes. But smallness does not erase significance. It reframes it. From a great distance, Earth does not announce itself. It does not dominate its surroundings. It does not blaze or roar. It glimmers, a quiet point of color against a vast, dark backdrop. And in that subtle presence, there is something deeply reassuring. The universe is not crowded with demands. It is mostly empty, spacious, forgiving. Against that openness, Earth becomes not insignificant but rare, As we pull farther away, the details of daily life fade first. Streets vanish, buildings blur, then continents soften into patterns of light and shadow. Storms become delicate spirals. The familiar becomes abstract, and then even abstraction gives way to simplicity. A blue and white sphere, turning slowly. This perspective does not deny the reality of your struggles. It does not say they do not matter. It simply places them in a context where they are no longer everything. Many people report a similar feeling when they encounter this perspective, whether through images from space, through astronomy, or through quiet contemplation. They describe a sense of relief, a loosening, as if something tight inside finally has permission to rest. Conflicts that felt enormous shrink to their true proportions, not because they are trivial, but because they are not cosmic. They do not occupy the universe. They occupy moments, and moments pass. This is one of the hidden gifts of distance. When we see how little space our problems take up in the cosmos, we do not become careless. We become gentler, with ourselves, with others. The mind, no longer forced to defend every thought as urgent, can relax into a wider rhythm. Perspective becomes a form of kindness. Imagine for a moment that the entire history of the universe is a single, impossibly long sentence. Galaxies form, stars ignite and fade, elements scatter and recombine. Time stretches forward word by word, clause by clause. Within that sentence, Earth is not a chapter, not even a word. It is a syllable, brief, precise, necessary, spoken once, and then carried forward by everything that follows. A syllable does not shout. It does not insist. It exists in relationship to the sounds around it. Earth's place in the universe is like that. It is defined not by how loud it is, but by how it fits, by how it resonates. Within that single syllable, oceans formed, life emerged, consciousness appeared, and you found yourself here, listening, breathing, aware. From this distance, the idea of home changes. Home is no longer a building or a location on a map. It becomes a moving point in space, a shared vessel carrying billions of stories at once. When astronauts describe seeing Earth from afar, they often struggle to find words. Many say the same thing in different ways. They felt a profound sense of unity and a surprising peace. The planet looked delicate, finite, worth protecting, but also complete. This feeling is not reserved for those who leave the planet. It is available here, now, in imagination and reflection. You do not need to visualize every kilometer or calculate every orbit. You only need to sense the idea that you are part of something much larger than the immediate noise of thought. The Earth holds you, and the universe holds the Earth. There is a hierarchy of support that extends far beyond your awareness. As the view widens, something else becomes clear. The universe does not revolve around us, and this too can be comforting. There is relief in knowing that existence does not depend on your constant vigilance, that the cosmos has been unfolding long before your worries arose and will continue long after they dissolve. You are participating in a story that does not rush you, judge you, or demand perfection. From very far away, Earth's atmosphere appears as a thin, luminous line, a fragile boundary between life and the vast emptiness beyond. Everything you have ever known exists within that delicate layer. Every memory, every fear, every joy. Seeing this can bring a quiet humility, but also a deep appreciation. Against such an immense backdrop, the fact that anything feels at all becomes extraordinary. When you allow this perspective to settle, you may notice a subtle change in your body. Perhaps your jaw unclenches. Perhaps your breathing deepens slightly. There is no instruction here, no technique to follow. These shifts happen naturally when the mind no longer feels cornered by urgency. Scale creates space, and space invites ease. The Earth, viewed from afar, does not look busy. It looks calm. Clouds drift. Light moves slowly across its surface. Night and day pass without resistance. There is no sign of deadlines or expectations, no evidence of the stories we tell ourselves about what must be done or who we must be. And yet, all of that is happening, held quietly within the planet's steady motion. This is not an invitation to detach from life, but to soften your grip on it, to recognize that while your experiences matter deeply, they do not have to carry the weight of the universe. That weight is already supported by something far larger, far more patient. The Earth has been carrying complexity for a very long time, and it does so without strain. As we continue to look from farther and farther away, the idea of control becomes less central. The planet spins whether we notice or not. Seasons change whether we approve or resist. Life adapts, persists, and transforms. There is wisdom in this motion, not because it is conscious, but because it is consistent. It reminds us that stability does not require rigidity. From this vantage point, even uncertainty feels different. The unknown is no longer a threat waiting at the edges. It is the natural state of a vast universe, one that has always included mystery. You do not need to resolve everything tonight. You do not need to make sense of your entire life. It is enough to know that you are part of a world that has been navigating uncertainty successfully for billions of years. The farther we pull back, the quieter things become. Not empty, but quiet. A silence filled with movement, with gravity, with time. In that silence, the Earth continues its journey, a soft presence in a boundless expanse. And within that presence, your life unfolds, moment by moment, held securely even when it feels fragile. If your thoughts begin to drift as you hold this image, that is not a problem. Drift is part of the process. Just as the Earth drifts through space, your mind can drift through perspective, letting go of what no longer needs to be held so tightly. There is no correct image to maintain, no clarity to achieve, only a sense of widening, of easing, of being carried. Seen from very far away, Earth does not compete for attention. It does not demand significance. It simply exists, quietly remarkable. And perhaps that is the most comforting realization of all, that you come from a place that does not need to prove itself to be meaningful, that your home, though small in scale, is complete in itself. As this perspective settles, you may find that the world feels slightly less heavy, not because it has changed, but because you are no longer holding it up alone. The universe is vast enough to share the load. And in that shared vastness, the Earth becomes what it has always been, a soft, moving syllable in an endless sentence, spoken once and remembered forever. There is a particular calm that arrives when we imagine ourselves not as fixed observers, but as gentle passengers, not standing apart from the universe, but floating within it. The feeling is subtle at first, like realizing you are being carried by water you no longer need to fight. In this chapter, we allow ourselves to sense that movement, not as speed or force, but as belonging. If the solar system were a river, vast and quiet, stretching far beyond the horizon, where exactly would we be? Not at the center, not at the edge, not in control of the current. We would be drifting somewhere within it, held by invisible flows of gravity, light, and time. Earth would not be a boat steering its own course, but a leaf on the surface, moving not because it chooses to, but because the river itself is in motion. This image matters because it shifts something essential. A river does not judge what floats within it. It does not ask whether the leaf is worthy of being carried. It simply carries. In the same way, space does not evaluate Earth's importance before allowing it to exist. The universe makes room. It always has. The distance between Earth and the Sun is often described with numbers so large they lose their texture. Millions of kilometers, vast emptiness. But the body does not feel numbers. The body feels time. Light leaving the sun takes over 8 minutes to reach Earth. 8 minutes of quiet travel through space before warmth touches your skin. When you feel sunlight, you are receiving something that has already been on a journey, something that existed moments ago somewhere else. This delay is not a flaw. It is a reminder. You are never experiencing the universe instantaneously. You are always receiving echoes, reflections, arrivals that have taken time. There is something comforting in this. It means the universe is patient. It means connection does not require immediacy. As Earth drifts through its orbit, nothing dramatic announces the passage. There is no sensation of movement in your muscles, no signal in your inner ear, and yet you are constantly changing position relative to everything else. The stars you see tonight are not arranged the same way they were thousands of years ago. Even now, their relationships are slowly shifting, though your eyes perceive them as still. This illusion of stillness is one of the mind's great comforts. Without it, life would feel unanchored. And yet, when we gently remember that stillness is only relative, that everything is flowing, another comfort emerges. If everything is moving, then no single moment has to carry all meaning. No single feeling has to last forever. There is a paradox here, one that many people encounter when contemplating the vastness of space. As Earth appears smaller, as our physical presence seems to diminish, the value of what happens here increases, not decreases. The more we realize how rare conditions like these are, how delicate the balance must be for life to emerge, the more precious each ordinary moment becomes. A planet capable of holding liquid water, a stable star that burns steadily for billions of years, chemical pathways that allow complexity to arise. These are not guaranteed features of the universe. They are outcomes of long, improbable processes. From this perspective, Earth is not insignificant. It is astonishingly specific. And within that specificity, you exist, not as an accident, but as a natural continuation of everything that came before. Atoms forged in ancient stars rearranged themselves into oceans, then into cells, then into nervous systems capable of reflection and wonder. You are not separate from the river. You are one of its expressions. Many people who spend time under the night sky describe a recurring experience. They say, "I felt small, and it calmed me." This statement seems contradictory at first. Why would feeling small bring peace? We are taught to fear smallness, to equate it with powerlessness or erasure. But this kind of smallness is different. It is not about being diminished. It is about being released. When the self no longer needs to be the center of everything, the pressure to constantly define, defend, and prove begins to soften. The mind rests more easily when it realizes it does not have to hold the universe together. That work is already being done by forces far older and more stable than any human thought. In the flow of the solar system, Earth does not dominate. It participates. It shares space with other planets, each following its own path, each shaped by the same gravity, the same star. This shared motion creates a quiet sense of companionship. We are not alone in our orbit. We never have been. Imagine humanity not as a fixed mass, but as something lighter, as pollen perhaps, drifting through a gravitational valley, carried not by wind, but by the curvature of space itself. Each life a grain, each grain moving gently, without needing to know the destination. Pollen does not choose where it lands, it trusts the movement that carries it. This metaphor is not meant to strip away agency or meaning, it is meant to relieve the burden of absolute control. You still make choices, you still care, but you do so within a larger flow that does not depend entirely on your effort. There is relief in knowing that existence is cooperative. As Earth continues its path around the sun, seasons unfold with steady reliability. Light shifts, temperatures change, life responds. None of this requires conscious direction. It happens because the system itself is balanced. Even disruption, even chaos occurs within boundaries set by physics. The river may have rapids, but it remains a river. From far enough away, Earth's orbit looks almost gentle, a smooth curve, a repeated motion. It does not reflect the emotional turbulence that often fills human days. And yet, that turbulence is happening within this calm arc. Both are true at once. This contrast can be deeply soothing. It reminds us that intense feelings can exist within stable structures. When you feel overwhelmed, it can help to remember that your inner experience is not a measure of cosmic disorder. The universe is not destabilized by your anxiety, your uncertainty, or your fatigue. It continues to carry you quietly and reliably, whether you feel steady or not. As we widen the view further, the solar system itself becomes a small region within a much larger structure, a neighborhood within a galaxy. The Milky Way holds hundreds of billions of stars, each with its own potential systems, its own flowing currents. Our river is one among many, winding through a vast cosmic landscape. Yet even here there is no sense of competition. Galaxies do not rush past one another in urgency. They drift, they interact slowly. Collisions, when they occur, unfold over millions of years. There is no sudden impact, no explosive chaos. Even transformation happens at a pace that allows structure to persist. This slowness is important to feel. Nothing in the universe is hurried, not even light. When we internalize this rhythm, even briefly, our own sense of urgency begins to loosen. The body recognizes a tempo it can trust. You may notice, as these images and ideas settle, that your thoughts begin to stretch out, becoming less dense. The mind, like space itself, prefers openness when it is allowed. There is no need to force this change. It happens naturally when pressure is removed. Earth, drifting as a grain of light in the vast current of space, is not lost. It is exactly where it needs to be to support life. The distance from the sun is not arbitrary. The tilt of the axis is not accidental. These conditions create rhythms that life can adapt to, rely on, and grow within. This balance does not require perfection. It allows variation, imperfection, even fragility. Life thrives not because conditions are flawless, but because they are forgiving enough to allow change. This is a powerful lesson to carry inward. You do not need to be perfectly aligned to belong. You need only to exist within a system that makes room for you. As we contemplate Earth's place in this flowing structure, the idea of insignificance begins to transform. Smallness becomes intimacy. Being one among many becomes a form of connection rather than erasure. You are not isolated in your experience. You are participating in a shared movement that includes everything you see and much that you cannot. The universe does not spotlight Earth. It does not elevate it above all else. And yet, within this unassuming grain of light, something remarkable happens. Awareness emerges, curiosity arises, the universe becomes capable of noticing itself. That too is part of the flow. When you feel small in this way, held within something vast, there is often a gentle quieting of the self. Not disappearance, but rest. The kind of rest that comes from knowing you are not required to be everything at once. If sleep feels closer now, if your thoughts feel less sharp, allow that. Drift, like Earth drifts. There is no destination you need to reach tonight. The current will continue whether you watch it or not. And as we move onward, widening the view even further, remember this feeling. The sense of being carried, of belonging without effort, of being a grain of light in a slow, endless current, not lost, not forgotten, but quietly, beautifully included. There is a particular calm that arrives when we imagine ourselves not as fixed observers, but as gentle passengers, not standing apart from the universe, but floating within it. The feeling is subtle at first, like realizing you are being carried by water you no longer need to fight. In this chapter, we allow ourselves to sense that movement, not as speed or force, but as belonging. If the solar system were a river, vast and quiet, stretching far beyond the horizon, where exactly would we be? Not at the center, not at the edge, not in control of the current. We would be drifting somewhere within it, held by invisible flows of gravity, light, and time. Earth would not be a boat steering its own course, but a leaf on the surface, moving not because it chooses to, but because the river itself is in motion. This image matters because it shifts something essential. A river does not judge what floats within it. It does not ask whether the leaf is worthy of being carried. It simply carries. In the same way, space does not evaluate Earth's importance before allowing it to exist. The universe makes room. It always has. The distance between Earth and the Sun is often described with numbers so large they lose their texture. Millions of kilometers, vast emptiness. But the body does not feel numbers. The body feels time. Light leaving the Sun takes over 8 minutes to reach Earth. 8 minutes of quiet travel through space before warmth touches your skin. When you feel sunlight, you are receiving something that has already been on a journey, something that existed moments ago somewhere else. This delay is not a flaw. It is a reminder. You are never experiencing the universe instantaneously. You are always receiving echoes, reflections, arrivals that have taken time. There is something comforting in this. It means the universe is patient. It means connection does not require immediacy. As Earth drifts through its orbit, nothing dramatic announces the passage. There is no sensation of movement in your muscles, no signal in your inner ear, and yet you are constantly changing position relative to everything else. The stars you see tonight are not arranged the same way they were thousands of years ago. Even now, their relationships are slowly shifting, though your eyes perceive them as still. This illusion of stillness is one of the mind's great comforts. Without it, life would feel unanchored. And yet, when we gently remember that stillness is only relative, that everything is flowing, another comfort emerges. If everything is moving, then no single moment has to carry all meaning. No single feeling has to last forever. There is a paradox here, one that many people encounter when contemplating the vastness of space. As Earth appears smaller, as our physical presence seems to diminish, the value of what happens here increases, not decreases. The more we realize how rare conditions like these are, how delicate the balance must be for life to emerge, the more precious each ordinary moment becomes. A planet capable of holding liquid water, a stable star that burns steadily for billions of years, chemical pathways that allow complexity to arise. These are not guaranteed features of the universe. They are outcomes of long, improbable processes. From this perspective, Earth is not insignificant. It is astonishingly specific. And within that specificity, you exist, not as an accident, but as a natural continuation of everything that came before. Atoms forged in ancient stars rearranged themselves into oceans, then into cells, then into nervous systems capable of reflection and wonder. You are not separate from the river. You are one of its expressions. Many people who spend time under the night sky describe a recurring experience. They say, "I felt small and it calmed me." This statement seems contradictory at first. Why would feeling small bring peace? We are taught to fear smallness, to equate it with powerlessness or erasure. But this kind of smallness is different. It is not about being diminished. It is about being released. When the self no longer needs to be the center of everything, the pressure to constantly define, defend, and prove begins to soften. The mind rests more easily when it realizes it does not have to hold the universe together. That work is already being done by forces far older and more stable than any human thought. In the flow of the solar system, Earth does not dominate. It participates. It shares space with other planets, each following its own path, each shaped by the same gravity, the same star. This shared motion creates a quiet sense of companionship. We are not alone in our orbit. We never have been. Imagine humanity not as a fixed mass, but as something lighter, as pollen perhaps, drifting through a gravitational valley, carried not by wind, but by the curvature of space itself. each life a grain, each grain moving gently, without needing to know the destination. Pollen does not choose where it lands, it trusts the movement that carries it. This metaphor is not meant to strip away agency or meaning, it is meant to relieve the burden of absolute control. You still make choices, you still care, but you do so within a larger flow that does not depend entirely on your effort. There is relief in knowing that existence is cooperative. As Earth continues its path around the sun, seasons unfold with steady reliability. Light shifts, temperatures change, life responds. None of this requires conscious direction. It happens because the system itself is balanced. Even disruption, even chaos occurs within boundaries set by physics. The river may have rapids, but it remains a river. From far enough away, Earth's orbit looks almost gentle. A smooth curve, a repeated motion. It does not reflect the emotional turbulence that often fills human days. And yet, that turbulence is happening within this calm arc. Both are true at once. This contrast can be deeply soothing. It reminds us that intense feelings can exist within stable structure. When you feel overwhelmed, it can help to remember that your inner experience is not a measure of cosmic disorder. The universe is not destabilized by your anxiety, your uncertainty, or your fatigue. It continues to carry you, quietly and reliably, whether you feel steady or not. As we widen the view further, the solar system itself becomes a small region within a much larger structure, a neighborhood within a galaxy. The Milky Way holds hundreds of billions of stars, each with its own potential systems, its own flowing currents. Our river is one among many, winding through a vast cosmic landscape. Yet even here, there is no sense of competition. Galaxies do not rush past one another in urgency. They drift, they interact slowly. Collisions, when they occur, unfold over millions of years. There is no sudden impact, no explosive chaos. Even transformation happens at a pace that allows structure to persist. This slowness is important to feel. Nothing in the universe is hurried, not even light. When we internalize this rhythm, even briefly, our own sense of urgency begins to loosen. The body recognizes a tempo it can trust. You may notice, as these images and ideas settle, that your thoughts begin to stretch out, becoming less dense. The mind, like space itself, prefers openness when it is allowed. There is no need to force this change. It happens naturally when pressure is removed. Earth, drifting as a grain of light in the vast current of space, is not lost. It is exactly where it needs to be to support life. The distance from the sun is not arbitrary. The tilt of the axis is not accidental. These conditions create rhythms that life can adapt to, rely on, and grow within. This balance does not require perfection. It allows variation, imperfection, even fragility. Life thrives not because conditions are flawless, but because they are forgiving enough to allow change. This is a powerful lesson to carry inward. You do not need to be perfectly aligned to belong. You need only to exist within a system that makes room for you. As we contemplate Earth's place in this flowing structure, the idea of insignificance begins to transform. Smallness becomes intimacy. Being one among many becomes a form of connection rather than erasure. You are not isolated in your experience. You are participating in a shared movement that includes everything you see and much that you cannot. The universe does not spotlight Earth. It does not elevate it above all else. And yet, within this unassuming grain of light, something remarkable happens. Awareness emerges, curiosity arises. The universe becomes capable of noticing itself. That too is part of the flow. When you feel small in this way, held within something vast, there is often a gentle quieting of the self, not disappearance but rest. The kind of rest that comes from knowing you are not required to be everything at once. If sleep feels closer now, if your thoughts feel less sharp, allow that. Drift, like Earth drifts. There is no destination you need to reach tonight. The current will continue whether you watch it or not. And as we move onward, widening the view even further. Remember this feeling, the sense of being carried, of belonging without effort, of being a grain of light in a slow, endless current, not lost, not forgotten, but quietly, beautifully included. There is another way to understand Earth's true scale, one that does not rely on distance or size, but on patience. If space shows us how small the planet is, time shows us how deep it is. The Earth may be modest in physical dimensions when placed against stars and galaxies, but it carries something vast within it: duration. A memory so long that it cannot be fully spoken, only slowly felt. Long before there were names, before there were thoughts capable of wondering about their own existence, the Earth was already here, cooling, shifting, gathering water from ancient skies, allowing oceans to settle into basins that had not yet learned their own shape. Time passed without witnesses, yet nothing was wasted. Every moment became part of what the planet would later offer to life. When we think about our own days, time often feels narrow and demanding. Hours are divided, measured, scheduled. There is a sense that time is always running out, always moving faster than we can follow. But the time carried by Earth is different. It is wide. It does not hurry. It holds events gently, allowing them to unfold at the pace they require. The planet has watched continents drift apart and collide again. It has held eras of fire, eras of ice, and long quiet ages where little seemed to happen at all. Mountains rose so slowly that nothing living noticed their movement, and then wore down again into dust without ceremony. Through all of this, Earth did not rush. It did not resist change. It allowed transformation to take as long as it needed. This contrast between geological time and human time is profound. We live within rhythms measured in seconds and years, while the planet operates in millions and billions. When these two scales meet, tension often arises. Our urgency presses against Earth's patience, and the difference can feel uncomfortable. Yet within that discomfort, there is also relief waiting to be discovered. The Earth is small in space, but ancient beyond ordinary comprehension. Its age is not a number that can be easily absorbed. It is a depth, layered and quiet. Beneath your feet, beneath buildings and roads and soil, there are stories pressed into stone, traces of oceans that no longer exist, imprints of life forms that lived and vanished long before memory was possible. When you walk on the ground, you are walking on time. Time that has been compressed, folded, and carried forward. This realization can soften the way you relate to your own brief presence. You are not late. You are not behind. You are simply here for a moment within a much longer unfolding. Human life often feels rushed because we measure it against expectations rather than against reality. We compare our pace to ideals, to imagined timelines of success or resolution. Earth offers a different reference. It shows that meaningful change does not require speed. That stability often comes from slowness. That endurance is built over patience, not pressure. The planet does not judge how quickly something grows. It allows trees centuries to mature. It allows rivers thousands of years to carve their paths. It allows ecosystems to assemble themselves gradually through countless small interactions. Nothing is demanded all at once. When we place our personal anxieties against this backdrop, something shifts. The urgency that once felt absolute begins to feel situational. Important, yes, but not total. There is room around it, space for perspective, space for breath. The Earth has survived impacts that reshaped its surface, climate shifts that transformed its atmosphere, and extinctions that erased dominant forms of life. And still, life returned, not because it was forced to, but because the conditions allowed it. This resilience is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet and persistent. Within this immense timeline, human history occupies only a thin layer. Our stories are recent additions, written on the surface of something far older. This is not meant to diminish them. It is meant to contextualize them, to remind us that our struggles, while real, are not unprecedented in scale or consequence. Geological time has a way of absorbing urgency. When you imagine millions of years passing, the sharp edges of immediate concerns begin to blur. This does not make them meaningless. It makes them lighter to hold. They become part of a flow, rather than obstacles that must be resolved instantly. There is comfort in knowing that the future is not empty. It already exists as potential, quietly embedded in the present. The Earth carries not only memories of the past, but possibilities of what is yet to come. Seeds that have not sprouted, processes that have begun but will not be visible for generations. When anxiety narrows your sense of time, it often traps you in the immediate moment, making everything feel urgent and irreversible. Earth's timeline gently contradicts this feeling. It shows that change is constant, that nothing remains fixed forever, and that even the most solid-seeming structures eventually soften and transform. Imagine the Earth as a clock that does not make sound. It measures time not in seconds, but in layers. Each layer holds evidence of what once was, without judgment or commentary. This clock does not rush you, it does not alarm, it simply turns steadily and quietly. Within this silent timing, human lives flicker briefly, and yet, within those brief flickers, entire worlds of meaning arise. Love, fear, curiosity, creativity. The brevity of these experiences does not make them fragile, it makes them luminous. The Earth does not require permanence from its inhabitants. It allows for cycles of emergence and disappearance. This acceptance can be deeply soothing. It suggests that you do not need to last forever to matter. That significance does not depend on duration alone. When you feel pressed by time, when the future feels like a narrowing corridor, it can help to remember the planet beneath you. A planet that has witnessed countless futures becoming pasts, without losing its capacity to carry new beginnings. There is no single outcome that defines everything. Deep time invites a different relationship with patience, not the forced patience of waiting for something to end, but the gentle patience of trusting that processes unfold at their own pace. This trust does not eliminate effort, it contextualizes it. You may notice, as these thoughts settle, that your internal sense of time begins to loosen. Moments stretch slightly. The mind stops racing ahead quite so urgently. This is not something you have to make happen. It is a natural response to a wider temporal frame. Earth's age reminds us that there is no rush to become complete. The planet itself is still becoming. Continents continue to move. Life continues to adapt. Nothing has reached a final form. Completion is not a requirement for belonging. When we compare ourselves to the vastness of time Earth carries, self-judgment often softens. The pressure to have everything resolved by a certain age or stage begins to fade. There is room to be unfinished, room to be in process. The future, from Earth's perspective, is not a deadline. It is an open continuation, a slow extension of what already exists. This view can transform the way night feels. Instead of being a pause before more urgency, night becomes part of a long, continuous rhythm. As you rest, the Earth continues its ancient timing. Rocks cool, oceans circulate. The planet does not stop because you sleep. It does not accelerate because you are awake. It simply carries on, steady and reliable. This reliability is not rigid. It includes upheaval and change. But even change unfolds within patterns that allow continuity. Life persists not because nothing ever goes wrong, but because systems adapt over time. When you place your worries within this context, they may feel less absolute, still present, still meaningful, but no longer defining the entire horizon. There is a sense that whatever you are carrying exists within a much larger patience. The Earth does not demand that you hurry to keep up with it. You are already moving together. Your life unfolds within its time, supported by rhythms far older than any calendar. As this perspective settles, you may feel a gentle easing, a recognition that tonight does not need to solve tomorrow, that rest is not a delay, but a natural part of a long continuum. The planet beneath you has carried oceans for billions of years. It can carry this moment too, and within that quiet endurance, there is space for you to let go, just a little, of the urgency that so often follows you into the night. Time, when viewed through Earth's deep patience, becomes less of a pressure and more of a presence, something you move within, rather than something that moves against you. And in that shift, the night finds its place, not as an interruption, but as a continuation of a story still unfolding. There is a subtle moment that often goes unnoticed, a moment when the mind quietly loosens its grip. It does not announce itself. It does not arrive with certainty or clarity. It arrives as a softening, a barely perceptible easing, like shoulders lowering after being held tense for too long. This moment often comes when perspective widens, when the frame expands just enough for the mind to stop pressing against its own limits. When we reduce the zoom, when we step back from the immediacy of our thoughts and place them within a larger context, something inside us responds, not intellectually, but physically. The body recognizes safety not only in closeness, but also in spaciousness. Anxiety narrows attention, perspective widens it, and in that widening, the nervous system often finds relief. There is measurable evidence that contemplation of vastness changes the way the brain behaves. Studies have shown that looking at images of space, considering large-scale natural phenomena, or reflecting on cosmic distances can reduce activity in regions associated with rumination. But even without studies, many people already know this intuitively. They feel it when they stand beneath a wide sky or watch a horizon stretch farther than expected. Rumination thrives in tight spaces. It repeats, circles, magnifies. Thoughts loop because there is nowhere else to go. When scale expands, loops lose momentum. Thoughts still appear, but they no longer collide as often. There is room between them. Silence begins to exist not as emptiness, but as spaciousness. The Earth occupies a unique position in this widening view. It is not lost in vastness, nor is it isolated from it. It sits at a balance point between immensity and shelter. Too close to the sun, and life would burn away. Too far, and it would freeze into stillness. Too massive, and gravity would crush complexity. Too small, and atmosphere would drift into space. This balance is not dramatic. It is quiet. It does not draw attention to itself. And yet, it allows something extraordinary, stability within change. A place where life can persist long enough to reflect on its own existence. When you consider this, the Earth begins to feel less like a random speck and more like a carefully tuned environment, even if that tuning emerged without intention. When you zoom out far enough to see Earth as a whole, but not so far that it disappears, something important happens emotionally. You are reminded that you come from a place that is both protected and exposed, a place that is part of something larger, but not overwhelmed by it. This middle ground mirrors a psychological need many people carry without naming it, the need to feel held without being confined. Anxiety often arises when the mind feels either too alone or too crowded, too isolated, and everything feels unsupported, too crowded, and everything feels suffocating. Perspective provides an antidote to both. It shows that you are not alone in the universe, and also that you are not responsible for all of it. There is a paradox at the heart of this realization. When we accept that we do not matter as much as we once thought, we often feel freer, not diminished. The pressure to be exceptional, to be constantly impactful, to justify one's existence begins to dissolve. In its place, a quieter sense of belonging emerges. This is the therapeutic paradox of scale. To realize that you do not occupy a central role in the universe is not to erase your value. It is to release you from an impossible burden. You no longer need to be the axis around which everything turns. You are allowed to simply exist within the turning. When thoughts are viewed up close, they feel solid and immovable. A worry feels like a wall. A fear feels like a permanent condition. But when viewed from a distance, thoughts become events rather than truths, temporary patterns rather than fixed realities. Zooming out does not deny their presence. It changes your relationship to them. Imagine your thoughts as small waves on the surface of a vast gravitational ocean. Each wave rises, forms, and falls back again. None of them define the ocean. None of them need to be stopped for the ocean to remain whole. The ocean does not panic when waves appear. It allows them to pass. When the mind identifies too strongly with its waves, tension builds. The effort to control every ripple becomes exhausting. Perspective offers another option. You can observe the movement without being pulled into it, not through force, but through distance. The earth itself demonstrates this principle continuously. Storms form and dissipate, tectonic plates shift, ecosystems change. None of these processes threaten the planet's existence as a whole. They are expressions of it. In the same way, emotional turbulence does not threaten your existence. It is an expression of being alive within a complex system. When you widen your perspective, even briefly, you may notice that your internal dialogue becomes less urgent. Questions that once demanded immediate answers soften into curiosities. Certainties loosen into possibilities. The mind begins to behave less like a courtroom and more like an open landscape. This shift does not require belief. It does not require convincing yourself of anything. It is a physiological response to perceived space. The body relaxes when it senses that there is room to move, room to rest, room to adapt. The Earth's presence in the cosmos reinforces this feeling. It is neither lost nor dominant. It participates. It belongs. And because it belongs, it does not need to assert itself constantly. There is a lesson here, subtle but powerful. Much of human distress comes from the feeling that one must constantly justify one's place, that existence must be earned or defended. But the universe does not operate on those terms. Stars do not prove their worth. Planets do not argue for their right to orbit. They exist because conditions allow them to. When you allow this perspective to settle even partially, the internal demand to constantly perform can ease. You are not required to be extraordinary tonight. You are not required to resolve your entire life. You are allowed to rest within a larger context that does not depend on your immediate clarity. Zooming out also changes the way we experience time. Urgency fades when moments are seen as part of a long continuum rather than isolated points of pressure. Tonight becomes one night among many, not a final opportunity to fix everything. Sleep becomes part of a rhythm, not a test. The earth continues to rotate whether you fall asleep quickly or slowly. The universe does not measure your worth by productivity or restfulness. It simply continues, steady and vast, making room for every state you pass through. When anxiety tightens the body, it often does so by narrowing attention to a single point of concern. Perspective gently loosens that grip by expanding the field. The concern does not disappear, but it becomes one element among many. It no longer fills the entire frame. This is not avoidance, it is proportion. Seeing things in proportion allows the mind to respond rather than react. It allows choice to replace compulsion. You may notice that as the zoom reduces, sensations in the body shift subtly. The breath may deepen, the jaw may relax. These changes are not commanded. They emerge naturally when the nervous system no longer feels cornered. The earth, seen from afar, is a reminder that stability does not require stillness. It is always moving, always changing position, and yet it remains a reliable home for life. This dynamic stability can be mirrored internally. You can be changing and still be grounded, uncertain and still supported. When you feel overwhelmed, it can help to imagine the earth suspended in space, turning quietly. No urgency, no resistance, just motion within balance. Your life unfolds on that turning sphere, carried whether you notice it or not. The paradox that emerges here is deeply therapeutic. not mattering as much as you thought can feel like relief. It can free you from the constant need to monitor, control, and perfect. It can allow you to care without carrying everything alone. In a universe where nothing is central, everything is connected. Meaning does not collapse when hierarchy dissolves. It redistributes. It becomes shared rather than concentrated. When you stop trying to be the center, you can finally feel supported by the edges. Thoughts, like waves, continue to appear. Emotions continue to rise and fall, but they do so within a much larger container, a container that does not crack under their weight. This container is not something you must build. It already exists. It is the context of your existence, the vastness that holds you without effort. As you rest within this awareness, you may find that sleep feels less like something you need to achieve and more like something that happens naturally when conditions allow. Just as life emerged on Earth, not through force, but through balance. There is no need to push the night away, no need to solve tomorrow. The Earth is still here, the universe is still vast, and within that vastness there is room for you to rest, exactly as you are. Reducing the zoom does not make life smaller, it makes it lighter. And in that lightness, something in you finally has space to breathe. There is a quiet misunderstanding that often follows us when we speak about size. We learn early, sometimes without realizing it, to associate magnitude with importance. Bigger feels stronger, larger feels more significant, vast feels valuable. And when we hear that Earth is small, truly small when placed beside stars, nebulae, and galaxies, something in us flinches, as if meaning itself were being reduced. But this reaction comes not from reality, but from habit, from a way of measuring worth that does not apply to the universe we actually inhabit. In physical terms, Earth is modest. It does not dominate its surroundings. It does not command attention through sheer scale or mass. Yet within this relatively small volume, something extraordinary unfolds. Layers upon layers of complexity interweave, interact, and persist. Complexity does not require immensity. In fact, it often thrives in places where conditions are precise, constrained, and delicately balanced. There is a difference between size and density, between how much space something occupies and how much happens within that space. A desert can stretch for thousands of kilometers and remain simple in structure, while a single drop of water can contain countless interactions, movements, and relationships. Earth belongs to the second category. It is dense with events. Within its thin atmosphere, weather systems emerge, dissolve, and reconfigure. Within its oceans, currents circulate nutrients across vast distances. Within its soil, chemical exchanges quietly sustain forests and fields, and within its living organisms, information flows in intricate patterns that allow adaptation, memory, and learning. None of this requires a planet the size of a star. It requires conditions that allow complexity to layer upon itself. This distinction matters emotionally as much as scientifically. Many people struggle with feelings of insignificance, not because they lack importance, but because they have learned to equate value with scale. When that equation is questioned, something softens. Meaning no longer needs to be loud or expansive. It can be subtle, intricate, and deeply local. Earth is not impressive because it is large. It is impressive because it is intricate. Because within a narrow range of temperatures, pressures, and chemical compositions, something emerged that can reflect on its own existence, that can feel curiosity, that can experience longing, that can feel sadness and joy, and ask questions about the universe that made it possible. From a distance, Earth appears as a point of color, a pale dot against darkness, but that dot contains languages, music, ecosystems, histories, and inner lives that no telescope can resolve. The smallness we observe from space conceals a depth that can only be known from within. This realization can quietly restore a sense of value without inflating the ego. It allows appreciation without arrogance. Earth is not the center of the universe. Humanity is not the culmination of cosmic evolution. And yet, what happens here is not trivial. It is rare. It is complex. It is worth caring about. The universe is vast, but it is not uniformly rich. Most of it is empty space. Most of it does not host chemistry complex enough to support life, let alone awareness. The conditions that allow Earth to be what it is are not common. They are specific, delicate, the result of long chains of circumstance aligning just enough to allow something more to happen. This does not mean Earth was designed with intention. It means that within a universe governed by consistent laws, certain configurations become possible. When they do, complexity can emerge and build upon itself. Over time, this complexity can reach a point where it becomes self-aware. The fact that this awareness exists at all is remarkable. The fact that it exists on a planet so small in cosmic terms makes it no less so. If anything, it makes it more striking. A reminder that richness does not require dominance. When we understand this, two opposing tendencies begin to dissolve at once. On one side, arrogance loses its foundation. The idea that humanity is entitled to control or mastery over everything fades when we recognize how contingent our existence is. On the other side, self-erasure also loosens its grip. The feeling that nothing we do matters because we are small loses its force when we see how much meaning can arise within small spaces. Earth holds chemistry capable of memory, biological systems that not only react, but anticipate, organisms that learn, communicate, and cooperate, cultures that accumulate knowledge across generations, stories that carry values forward in time. None of this is guaranteed by size alone. It emerges from interaction. Think of a single cell. It is unimaginably small, yet within it, countless processes unfold simultaneously. Information is copied, energy is transformed, structures are maintained and repaired. The cell does not need to be large to be complex. It needs to be organized. Earth functions in a similar way, at a different scale. It is a system of systems, each influencing the others. Atmosphere interacts with ocean. Ocean interacts with life. Life alters atmosphere. Feedback loops form, stabilize, destabilize, and reconfigure. This dynamic interplay is what allows the planet to remain habitable over long periods. From this perspective, Earth is not just a place where life happens. It is an active participant in life's continuation, a co-evolving system where physical and biological processes shape one another. This partnership is subtle, quiet, and ongoing. When you consider this, the idea of smallness begins to feel irrelevant. What matters is not how much space something occupies, but how deeply it is structured, how many layers of interaction it supports, how much meaning can arise within it. Human lives reflect this principle as well. A single moment of understanding can outweigh years of routine. A brief connection can reshape an entire life. Depth is not measured in duration or scale, it is measured in impact and integration. The Earth, in this sense, is a place of immense depth. It has learned how to hold water in liquid form for billions of years, how to recycle elements through living and non-living systems, how to allow diversity to emerge without collapsing into chaos. These are not trivial achievements. They are the result of long, delicate balances. Seeing Earth as complex rather than merely small changes the emotional tone of our perspective. It invites care without superiority, responsibility without domination, appreciation without illusion. The image of Earth as a pale blue dot can feel humbling, even sobering. But humility does not have to lead to insignificance. It can lead to reverence, a quiet respect for something that did not need to be large to become meaningful. There is a particular tenderness in realizing that this small planet learned how to feel, that within its ecosystems, nervous systems emerged capable of pain, pleasure, attachment, and loss. That matter arranged itself in ways that allowed longing to exist, that allowed creatures to miss what is gone and imagine what is possible. This tenderness does not elevate Earth above the universe. It situates it within the universe as a place where something rare is happening. And rarity naturally invites care. When we hold this view, we no longer need to oscillate between grandiosity and despair. We do not need to claim that we are everything, nor resign ourselves to being nothing. We can occupy a middle ground that feels far more stable. Earth does not need to be the largest to be worthy of attention. You do not need to be the most important person in the universe to matter. Value is not a competition. It is a quality that emerges from relationship and complexity. As the night deepens and thoughts begin to soften, this realization can be deeply settling. It allows you to rest without diminishing yourself, to acknowledge smallness without fear, to recognize complexity without burden. You come from a place that learned how to remember, how to adapt, how to host awareness. That alone is enough to justify care, both outward and inward. The universe does not ask Earth to be bigger. It allows it to be what it is. And in doing so, it allows complexity to flourish in a way that vast emptiness cannot. When you feel small, remember this distinction. Small in size does not mean small in substance. Small in scale does not mean shallow in meaning. The point of seeing Earth's place in the cosmos is not to diminish what happens here, but to see it more clearly, to strip away false measures of worth and replace them with something quieter and more accurate. A point of light can carry entire worlds within it. A small planet can host a richness that vast regions of space never will. And a single life, brief and limited, can still hold meaning that echoes far beyond its duration. As this understanding settles, the tension between humility and value begins to ease. You do not need to choose between them. They can coexist. Earth shows us how. Small in the cosmos, yes. But within that smallness, an incomparable density of experience unfolds. A complexity that does not shout, but persists. A quiet miracle turning steadily through space, carrying memory, chemistry, and feeling together as one. And perhaps that is the most grounding realization of all. That greatness does not always announce itself through size. Sometimes it whispers through depth. Night has a different texture when we pause long enough to notice it. The world grows quieter not because everything has stopped, but because attention softens, edges blur, the sharp outlines of the day lose their urgency. In this quieter state, one question often lingers beneath the surface of thought, unspoken but felt, where am I really in all of this? Not in a practical sense, not an address or a coordinate, but a deeper orientation, a sense of place that goes beyond walls and streets and names. Before sleep, the mind often seeks this kind of grounding, whether it knows it or not. To rest, the nervous system needs to feel located, not trapped, not confined, but held within something coherent. For most of human history, nights were darker and skies were fuller. To lie down meant to look up into vastness. Stars were not abstract concepts, but companions in the dark. They offered a quiet reassurance that the world extended far beyond the immediate circle of firelight, and that this extension was not hostile. It was simply there. Even now, beneath layers of light and noise, that ancient need remains, to know where we are before letting go of wakefulness, to feel oriented not just in space but in meaning. Earth provides this orientation in a way that is easy to overlook. It is not only the ground beneath us, it is a shared location in the universe, a moving address, a place that can be named not just geographically, but cosmically. Third planet from a steady star, orbiting within a spiral galaxy, drifting among countless others. This knowledge does not need to be rehearsed in detail. It works even when it is felt rather than articulated. To know that you are somewhere specific, somewhere real, somewhere held within a larger structure, allows the mind to relax its vigilance. When sleep is difficult, it is often because the mind feels unmoored. Thoughts float without anchor. Worries repeat because there is no larger frame to absorb them. Orientation restores proportion. It gives the mind a sense of containment without confinement. Earth is not an accident adrift in chaos. It follows a path, a reliable, repeated motion through space. Night after night, year after year, you are on that path now, whether you feel it or not. You do not have to guide it. You do not have to monitor it. It carries you automatically. This realization can be deeply comforting. It suggests that rest does not mean letting go into nothingness. It means letting go into something that is already moving steadily on your behalf. As the planet turns, night arrives not as an interruption, but as part of a rhythm. Darkness is not a failure of light. It is a phase, a necessary interval, a time when systems repair, memories consolidate, and bodies restore themselves. Earth knows this rhythm well. It has been practicing it for billions of years. When you are aligning yourself with this planetary rhythm, your sleep is not separate from the motion of the Earth. It is embedded within it. As the planet rotates, you rotate with it. As it moves forward in its orbit, you move forward too, even in stillness. This sense of shared motion can transform the silence of the night. Silence stops feeling empty and begins to feel companionable. The universe does not vanish when sound fades. It becomes more present, less demanding, more spacious. You are not alone with your thoughts in an empty void. You are resting on a world that is part of a vast, interconnected system. Stars continue to burn. Galaxies continue to drift. Time continues to unfold at scales far larger than any one night. Knowing this does not require effort. It is enough to let the idea settle gently, to sense that there is a structure beneath the uncertainty, a place within the immensity. Earth as an address is a powerful concept, not because it fixes everything, but because it answers a fundamental question: where do I belong? The answer is not abstract. You belong here, on this planet, at this moment, within this turning. Belonging does not require comprehension. You do not need to understand the mechanics of orbits or the mathematics of gravity to belong. A child belongs to a family without understanding genetics. Belonging precedes explanation. When the mind stops trying to fully understand and allows itself simply to locate, rest becomes more accessible. The question shifts from what do I need to solve to where am I being held, and that shift is often enough to soften resistance to sleep. The universe is often described as cold and indifferent, but this description misses something important. Indifference implies dismissal. The universe does not dismiss, it accommodates, it makes room. It allows vast emptiness and intricate complexity to coexist without conflict. Earth exists within this accommodation. So do you. You are not required to justify your presence tonight. The universe is not evaluating your usefulness. It is simply continuing, and you are part of that continuation. As you prepare to sleep, you may notice the urge to review the day, to replay moments, to anticipate tomorrow. This is natural. The mind is trying to orient itself in time. But there is another orientation available, one that does not depend on narrative. You are here, on Earth, moving through space at this very moment, supported by forces that do not sleep, do not waver, do not demand attention. Gravity holds you whether you think about it or not. The planet turns whether you are awake or asleep. There is profound relief in realizing that you do not have to stay conscious to keep the world going. You are allowed to rest without consequence. Nothing essential will be lost if you let go. Sleep, from this perspective, is not withdrawal. It is trust. Trust that the systems larger than you will continue to function. Trust that you can release control without disaster. Trust that the earth will keep turning. Imagine sleep as a small surrender, not to darkness, but to motion. to letting the planet carry you through the night while your awareness softens. You are not stopping, you are continuing in a different way. This idea can ease the fear that sometimes accompanies the edge of sleep. The fear of losing awareness, of disappearing for a while. You are not disappearing, you are being carried. The Earth has carried countless nights like this, nights of uncertainty, nights of grief, nights of quiet joy, each one folded into the planet's long memory. Each one survived. When you rest, you add nothing new to that burden. You simply join a rhythm that has always included rest as an essential phase. As the night deepens, and the boundary between thought and dream begins to blur, you may find comfort in imagining the Earth turning beneath you. Not quickly, not dramatically, just steadily. The same motion that has brought dawn countless times before will bring it again. There is no need to stay alert for it. You do not need to watch the rotation. You can let it happen without supervision. This is one of the quiet gifts of cosmic perspective. It reassures without insisting. It grounds without constraining. It reminds you that you are located within something reliable, even when your internal state feels uncertain. Knowing where you are allows you to rest more deeply, not because everything is resolved, but because nothing essential depends on your vigilance tonight. You are on a planet that knows how to carry life through darkness and light. A planet that does not rush mornings or delay nights. A planet that simply turns. As you drift towards sleep, allow the Earth to do what it has always done. Let it rotate. Let it orbit. Let it move you gently through space and time. You do not need to go anywhere. You are already somewhere. And in that quiet certainty, there is space for rest. There comes a point in the night when words no longer need to explain anything. They no longer need to build images or carry ideas forward. They simply rest alongside you, like a quiet presence in a dimly lit room. This is that moment, not an ending, but a gentle settling, a place where understanding loosens and experience takes over. By now, the universe may no longer feel distant or abstract. It may feel quieter, slower, less like something to be grasped and more like something to be trusted. The vastness we have drifted through is not meant to overwhelm the mind. It is meant to give the mind permission to stop holding so tightly. Somewhere beneath you, the Earth continues its motion. It has not changed its pace to match your thoughts. It has not asked whether you are ready for the night. It simply turns, as it always has. That steady movement is not indifferent, it is reliable. And reliability, when nothing else feels certain, can be deeply comforting. You have spent this time widening your view, not to escape your life, but to place it gently back into context, to remember that you exist within a story far larger than any single worry, any single moment of doubt. This does not erase what you feel. It gives it room. In the immensity of space, there is no demand to resolve everything. In the depth of time, there is no urgency to arrive at conclusions. The universe does not rush itself. It allows processes to unfold slowly, sometimes invisibly, until change becomes inevitable without ever being forced. You are allowed to mirror that rhythm tonight. If thoughts still arise, let them. They are not interruptions. They are part of being human. But notice how they behave now. Perhaps they move more slowly. Perhaps they feel less insistent. Perhaps they no longer need immediate answers. This is not something you made happen. It is what occurs naturally when pressure dissolves. The universe does not ask you to understand it in order to belong. Belonging is already woven into your existence. You are made of the same matter. You follow the same laws. You participate without effort. What if the vastness of the universe is not meant to make us feel small in a painful way, but small in a relieving way? Small enough to set down what was never meant to be carried alone. Small enough to rest without guilt. Small enough to trust that there is room for everything you feel. Tonight, you do not need to hold the Earth in your mind. The Earth is holding you. You do not need to keep track of time. Time is moving gently around you. You do not need to stay alert. Nothing essential depends on your vigilance now. As sleep approaches, it may not arrive all at once. It may come in waves, in pauses, in soft drifting. That is enough. The universe does not insist on immediacy. It allows transitions. Somewhere beyond your awareness, galaxies continue their slow dance. Light continues its patient journey. The cosmos expands without effort, without concern for outcome, and within that expansion, there is space for your rest. You are here, on a small planet with deep memory, moving through a vast universe that does not hurry you, supported by structures far older and more stable than any single night. If sleep comes, let it come. If it takes its time, that is fine too. The earth will keep turning either way. Morning will arrive when it arrives. Nothing is being lost. And as the universe continues quietly and endlessly, you are free to let go, not into emptiness, but into belonging. In a cosmos this infinite, what gentle truth might be waiting quietly for you tonight? There is a point where measurement quietly gives up, where numbers, distances, and timelines have carried us as far as they can, and something softer takes their place, not ignorance, but acceptance, not confusion, but a gentle release from the need to define everything precisely. This chapter lives there, beyond measure, where the universe no longer asks to be understood, only to be felt. When humans first began to measure the sky, it was an act of orientation, to know when seasons would change, to understand where the sun would rise, to predict the return of stars. Measurement was a form of reassurance, a way of making the unknown less threatening, and for a long time it served us well. But as our instruments grew more powerful, something unexpected happened. The universe did not become smaller, it expanded. Every answer opened into a larger question. Every boundary revealed another beyond it. The more precisely we measured, the more clearly we saw the limits of measurement itself. This realization can feel unsettling if we approach it with the expectation that knowledge must eventually close the loop. That understanding should bring finality. But the universe does not seem interested in finality. It prefers continuation. Processes unfolding into other processes, causes dissolving into deeper causes. A sentence that does not end, but keeps finding new ways to continue. Earth exists within this unfinished sentence. So do you. When we say the universe is expanding, we often imagine motion outward, like an explosion frozen in time. But expansion is quieter than that. It is not objects rushing away from a center. It is space itself stretching slowly, steadily, everywhere at once. There is no privileged location from which this expansion begins, no central vantage point that can claim primacy. This is important to feel, not just to know. There is no center you are failing to reach, no cosmic perspective you are missing out on. Wherever you are already within the expansion, already part of it. The Earth does not sit outside this process, observing from a distance. It participates. Every atom in your body participates. The space between particles stretches. Time continues its quiet forward movement. Nothing is excluded. When anxiety tightens around the idea of infinity, it is often because the mind tries to treat infinity like a destination, something to be reached, grasped, or completed. But infinity is not a place, it is a condition, a property of processes that do not terminate. The universe does not rush toward an ending. It evolves, it transforms, it reconfigures. Even the far future, when stars grow dim and galaxies drift apart beyond visibility, is not an ending in the dramatic sense. It is another phase, quieter, darker, slower, but still unfolding. There is something deeply calming about this lack of finality. It means that existence is not a test with a deadline. It is not a performance leading to a verdict. It is participation in an ongoing process that does not require completion. Your life, within this context, does not need to resolve into a perfect narrative. It does not need to justify itself with a clear conclusion. It is enough that it is lived, that it unfolds moment by moment, shaped by conditions, choices, and chance. The pressure to make sense of everything often comes from a misunderstanding. We assume that meaning must be total to be valid, that partial understanding is a failure. But the universe itself operates on partial knowledge. Systems respond locally. Causes propagate without global awareness. Order emerges without a master plan. Meaning, in this sense, is not something imposed from above. It is something that arises from within relationships, from interactions, from context. Earth's meaning does not come from being the largest or the oldest or the most central. It comes from what happens here, from the complexity it sustains, from the way matter organizes itself into forms capable of experience. Your meaning works the same way. It is not granted by cosmic scale. It emerges from connection, attention, and presence, from the ways you affect and are affected by the world around you. When the mind relaxes its demand for cosmic significance, it often discovers a quieter form of meaning that feels more stable, less dramatic, but more durable, meaning that does not depend on recognition or permanence. The night is an ideal time for this discovery. In the dark, without the visual dominance of the immediate world, the mind naturally widens. It senses depth where boundaries used to be. Silence becomes textured rather than empty. You may notice that as thoughts slow, they begin to feel less like statements and more like movements. They arise, shift, and dissolve. None of them need to be held in place. None of them need to be resolved. This is how the universe handles complexity. It allows processes to play out. It does not freeze them prematurely into conclusion. Stars form from clouds of gas that collapse slowly under gravity. There is no sudden decision, no moment of certainty, just gradual change until ignition occurs naturally. Even then, the star's life unfolds over millions or billions of years with no awareness of its own arc. Earth formed in a similar way: accretion, cooling, differentiation, no blueprint, no foresight. And yet, from these blind processes emerged oceans, atmospheres, and eventually minds capable of wondering how it all began. Wonder is not a problem to be solved. It is a state to be inhabited. When you allow yourself to inhabit wonder without pressure, anxiety often loosens its hold, because anxiety demands closure. It demands certainty. Wonder allows openness. The universe does not punish openness. It rewards it with perspective. As you rest now, you do not need to trace the entire cosmic story. You do not need to hold the timeline from the Big Bang to the present. It is enough to know that you are within it, that your breath is synchronized in a small way with processes far larger than yourself. Every breath exchanges atoms with the world. Oxygen enters, carbon dioxide leaves. Atoms that were once part of stars pass briefly through you and continue on. You are not a closed system. You are a passage. This realization can be deeply grounding. You are not isolated in your experience. You are in constant exchange with your environment, with Earth, with the universe. Nothing about this exchange is rushed. Even decay unfolds at its own pace. Even transformation is patient. When fear arises around impermanence, it often comes from imagining disappearance as emptiness. But impermanence in the universe does not mean erasure. It means redistribution. Matter changes form, energy changes state, information disperses. Nothing is truly lost. It simply becomes something else. Your experiences, too, become part of larger patterns. They shape how you respond, how you relate, how you move through the world. Even moments that feel small or forgotten contribute to the ongoing configuration of who you are. From the universe's perspective, there is no wasted experience. There is no unnecessary moment. Everything that happens becomes part of what happens next. This does not mean everything is good or fair. The universe does not guarantee comfort. but it does guarantee continuity, and continuity can be enough to hold you through discomfort. As the night deepens, you may feel the boundary between thought and sensation soften further. Images become less distinct, language loses its grip. This is not a loss. It is a transition into a mode of awareness that does not rely on explanation. The universe existed long before language. It will continue long after. Resting without words is not a failure of understanding. It is a return to a more fundamental way of being. You are allowed to let the universe finish the sentence for you tonight. You do not need to complete it. You do not need to add punctuation. You can pause mid-thought, mid-question, mid-uncertainty. The sentence will continue regardless. Earth will keep turning. Space will keep expanding. Time will keep unfolding. These processes do not depend on your attention. They do not pause when you sleep. There is freedom in that. You are not responsible for holding the cosmos together. You are not tasked with understanding its full scope. You are a participant, not a custodian. Participation does not require constant awareness. It allows rest. As you drift toward sleep, imagine the universe not as something vast and intimidating, but as something spacious and permissive, a place where unfinished things are allowed to remain unfinished, where questions can stay open, where silence is not a threat. You are already doing enough by being here, by breathing, by existing within this moment. Nothing more is required. And if tomorrow brings new questions, new uncertainties, new moments of doubt, they too will find their place within the ongoing sentence. They will be carried forward, reshaped, absorbed. For now, let the words fade. Let the images soften. Let the need to understand dissolve into a quieter trust. The universe is still speaking. You do not need to listen actively. You can let it speak around you, through you, beyond you. There is a moment, often unnoticed, when the night stops feeling close and begins to feel wide. It does not happen all at once. It is not marked by a single thought or sensation. Instead, it arrives gradually, like darkness spreading evenly across a landscape, softening edges without erasing what is there. This chapter lives in that widening, in the space where the night no longer presses in but opens out. For much of the day, awareness is narrow by necessity. Attention is drawn to tasks, conversations, responsibilities, and expectations. The mind learns to focus tightly, to prioritize what is immediate and actionable. This narrowing is useful. It helps us function. But when the day ends, the same narrowing can become a source of restlessness. Thoughts circle because the frame has not yet expanded. The night offers a natural counterbalance. It invites the mind to release its grip on the near and the urgent and to re-enter a wider field of awareness. This does not require effort. It happens when conditions allow, when light dims, when sound recedes, when the body senses that vigilance is no longer required. Looking up into the night sky has always been one of the most reliable ways to trigger this expansion. Even when clouds obscure the stars, the darkness itself suggests depth, an unseen vastness beyond the immediate world. The mind responds to this suggestion instinctively. Attention stretches outward, and with it, tension begins to thin. In this widened state, thoughts behave differently. They lose some of their sharpness, their edges blur. Instead of colliding, they begin to pass by one another, like distant objects seen from a moving train, present but no longer demanding. The universe plays a quiet role in this transformation, not as a concept to be analyzed, but as a presence to be sensed. You do not need to visualize galaxies or calculate distances. It is enough to feel that there is more space than pressure, more silence than noise. Earth, at night, turns away from the sun, exposing one side of itself to the larger darkness. This is not abandonment, it is balance. The planet needs both light and dark to function. So do you. Rest is not a failure of productivity, it is a necessary phase within a larger cycle. When the night becomes wide enough, worries often begin to feel less solid. Not because they have disappeared, but because they are no longer surrounded by urgency. They are held within a larger context, one that does not amplify them. This context is not something you must construct. It already exists. It is the scale of the universe itself, a scale where individual moments are real but not absolute, meaningful but not total. Many people fear this widening at first. It can feel like losing control, like drifting away from what is familiar. But control is often what keeps the mind tense. Widening does not remove agency. It simply redistributes it, placing personal experience within a larger, more forgiving frame. In this wider night, it becomes easier to accept that not everything needs to be resolved before sleep. That unanswered questions can remain unanswered for a while without causing harm. The universe itself is full of open questions, and yet it continues. Stars burn without knowing why they exist. Galaxies collide without intention. Planets orbit without awareness. And still, order emerges. Patterns persist. Life finds ways to adapt. This does not mean everything is gentle or kind. The universe is not designed for comfort. But it is designed for continuity, and continuity can hold discomfort without being defined by it. When you allow the night to widen, you are aligning yourself with this principle. You are allowing experience to continue without forcing it into resolution. The body understands this instinctively. As awareness widens, muscles begin to release. Breathing slows. The nervous system shifts out of alertness and into a more receptive state. This shift does not require instruction. It is a response to perceived safety. Safety in this context does not mean certainty. It means space, the sense that there is room to exist without being cornered by demands. Earth's position in the universe contributes to this sense of safety in subtle ways. The planet follows a stable orbit. The star it circles is steady. The larger galactic environment, while dynamic, changes slowly on human timescales. These layers of stability create a background of reliability that the body can sense, even if the mind does not articulate it. When you lie awake at night, you are not suspended in emptiness. You are embedded in a system that has been operating reliably for billions of years. The ground beneath you is not fragile in the immediate sense. The sky above you is not collapsing. The structures that support life continue their quiet work. This knowledge does not need to be brought into focus sharply. It works best when it remains soft, like a low-frequency hum beneath awareness. As the night widens, the sense of self often changes as well. Identity becomes less rigid. You may feel less defined by roles, by narratives, by expectations. This can feel disorienting if you resist it, or deeply restful if you allow it. The self, like everything else in the universe, is a process rather than a fixed object. It shifts depending on context, state, and perspective. At night, when external demands fade, the self naturally becomes quieter, less structured. This quieter self does not need to perform. It does not need to explain itself. It does not need to justify its existence. It simply is. In the vastness of the universe, identity is not a requirement for belonging. Particles belong without names. Stars belong without awareness. You belong without effort. The widening night makes this easier to feel. It dissolves the illusion that you must constantly assert who you are in order to remain real. You are real because you are here, because you are part of a continuous unfolding that includes planets, stars, and space itself. When thoughts arise that try to pull you back into urgency, notice how they feel now. Perhaps they are quieter. Perhaps they arrive more slowly. Perhaps they no longer feel like emergencies. This does not mean they are unimportant. It means they are being held differently. Holding is the key word here. The universe holds things without squeezing them. It allows distance. It allows separation. It allows variation. When you mirror this holding inwardly, you create conditions for rest. The night does not demand that you fall asleep. It simply creates space where sleep can happen if it wants to. Pressure is removed. Expectation fades. In this space, even wakefulness can be restful. You are not failing if sleep does not arrive immediately. You are still participating in the night's rhythm. The earth does not judge whether you are asleep or awake. It continues its motion either way. You are allowed to take as long as you need. As the hours pass, the planet carries you through different orientations in space. Stars rise and set. The sky changes subtly. You may not notice any of this, and that is fine. It is happening regardless. There is comfort in knowing that change continues even when you are still. That progress does not depend entirely on your conscious effort. The universe is not waiting for you to catch up. It is not keeping score. It is simply continuing. When the night becomes wide enough, it can hold everything you bring into it: fatigue, uncertainty, hope, regret, curiosity. None of these overwhelm the night. They dissolve into it, like sounds fading into distance. This does not mean they vanish. It means they are no longer concentrated at the center of awareness. In a wide night, the center is everywhere and nowhere at once. There is no single point that demands all attention. This is why the night has always been associated with reflection, with dreaming, with altered states of awareness. It naturally loosens the structures that keep the mind narrow during the day. Dreams themselves reflect this widening. They combine images, emotions, and memories without strict logic. They move freely through time and space. They do not respect boundaries. And yet, they often reveal truths that rigid thinking cannot access. Even if you do not dream consciously, the mind still enters a different mode at night, a mode that favors integration over analysis. The universe, too, integrates rather than analyzes. It does not stop to explain itself. It unfolds. As you rest within this unfolding, you may feel a sense of quiet companionship, not because something is watching you, but because you are part of something larger that does not exclude you. The night sky, even unseen, is still there. The stars do not disappear because you close your eyes. They continue their slow work, burning, drifting, changing. You are not required to witness this for it to be meaningful. Your existence is already woven into it. When the night becomes wide enough, the question of purpose often softens. Purpose stops feeling like a task to be completed and begins to feel like participation itself. To exist, to experience, to respond, these are not trivial acts in a universe capable of awareness. They are expressions of complexity unfolding. You do not need to assign grand meaning to every moment. Meaning can be quiet. It can be implicit. It can be felt rather than named. As this chapter draws toward its own quiet pause, there is nothing to conclude, no lesson to summarize, no action to suggest. The night is wide, the universe is vast, the earth continues its steady motion, and you are here, within all of it, allowed to rest. If sleep comes, it comes within this wideness. If it takes its time, the wideness remains. Nothing is closing, nothing is ending. The sentence continues, carried forward by processes far larger than any single thought.